Rekha, what do you see as the way forward from this? What do you see as the way forward?
Well, I am just so full of hope of the younger generation.
Yes.
To see them go out there fearlessly,
Yes.
regardless of what they're going to catch from this pandemic, as they demonstrate and saying enough is enough. I think we have been complicit, as Soni says, in being silent for so long.
Yes.
All of us, we have let horrible things, women being harassed in workplaces,
Yes.
what's happening to the colored and the black and people, and even in Canada, we are not immune. We have done horrible things, and we continue to do horrible things to our Inuit and our native people, and treat them as second-class citizens. But my hope is that the younger generation is saying that we are not going to tolerate this anymore.
Yes.
And it was fabulous. I had an opportunity to, for the first time, spend time with my granddaughter, who's 14 years old, and she came up to our cottage with us, and I had the first chance to hug her in 3 months.
Wow.
And she at 14 was saying, this has got to stop, and we won't take this anymore.
Wow.
That to me was hope. This is the way forward.
Yes.
When at 14 they're saying this is wrong, she's saying to me, this is wrong, and we're learning this in school, and there's no reason why somebody's skin color should impact what kind of a job they get or how they're treated, or that they're afraid of the police or the cops.
Yes. Absolutely.
That is hope for me.
Amazing.
On the flip side, I'm also feeling that, humankind always seems to want to take the path of least resistance. And we thought the end of the world had come when after 9/11, nobody would get on a plane again. And lo and behold, we all started flying again. Very shortly, we forgot. And so my fear is that we will forget at some point about what we went through. We will forget about kindness to others. And hopefully those of us who don't forget will continue to remind others of how fantastic it felt when we stopped thinking about ourselves and started thinking about other people.
Absolutely.
That's my hope.
Wow, very well said. I really pray we think of kindness and we don't let go of it. Pooja, what do you think the way forward would be?
I think this whole epidemic, it's a twofold epidemic in Chicago. It's obviously the COVID-19, but also the fact that when people were home during this thing, they had time to reflect and time to think about what's going on around us. And the people that I saw objecting to George Floyd's death in such a horrible manner, it spread because there's social media today. And suddenly everyone is aware of this and see the horrifying kind of acts that are committed, by people who are in power and have had no checks for themselves. So one of the great things I think will happen is that, when you see the processions and the protests, more than half of them are Caucasians, and they're all between 20 and 30. So that is the next generation, and they're determined to make things happen. And change things. And so, yes, on the side, you've got the looters, but they're just opportunists. And most of the protests are very peaceful.
Okay.
And when you think about it, the moment somebody else was shot in a Wendy's driveway just a day ago, shot 3 times in the back. And that was filmed because people now have all the new technology, not you anymore, but video, on their camera, on their phones. And so the police chief resigned, and then the officer was immediately fired, and the second young one was put on probation. And that kind of action was never taken before in the past 50 or 100 years. So I think the way forward is people being made to be accountable for all the things they're doing, and there's no way of hiding. There has to be more transparency.
Yes.
The other way is, people are very philanthropic in America, and they give generously to various causes. And one example is, and they haven't stopped yet, one example is that all the South Side, which is the more not affluent side of Chicago, when the kids go to school, they get what is probably their only 1 square meal at school, supplied by the state. And when they stopped going to school, these kids were hungry at home. Their parents had lost their jobs. And one of the principals sent out a note to everyone, spread the word that, we just need some food for the kids. And they got thousands of bags of groceries. They were so overwhelmed. They were sharing it with other people. Similarly, we support theater groups because we love theater, but even they have kind of combined, they're hurting too, but they've combined with different theater groups, even though they are in pain, to get a drive to have all their subscribers donate food and paper and baby formulas, etc. And I went there to drop off my stuff, and I found the lobby just full of things, and they were trying to get it out in bags to everyone. So there is so much hope amongst these, because people have stopped a little bit during this pandemic to think about themselves and their friends. And people are, trying to get supplies over to elderly neighbors, etc. And so we're thinking about other people, not just ourselves. And we can see how little we really need to have to survive, because you don't want to go to the grocery store more than once every 8 or 10 days, etc. And you survive. You can have lentils, etc. Towards the end of your thing. But nobody in America was eating lentils before. So I think there's so many positive things about the psyche and the diets and the shopping habits, and how people will plan for such things in the future.
Yeah, that's lovely. So talking about little things, Soni was talking to me the other day about how little things matter. So Soni, would you like to talk a little bit about the way forward and then little things matter?
Yeah, sure. The way forward, I feel at the moment in India, I think we're actually frozen in fear, because the thing is, our numbers are shooting up. We don't know where we are. We don't know where we're going to be in a week's time, let alone a month's time. So for us to, at this moment, think of a way forward I think it's almost impossible. Our brains cannot function beyond, there's only so much horror that you can consume. So on the bleak side, there is this fear that, we are going to get worse and worse, and it's never going to peak. And because we have so many people in India, it's not nobody's fault. That's just the way it is. And then terrible infrastructure, health infrastructure, all those things which now we all know about. But on the hopeful side, there are good things happening. Like, for example, in the biggest slum in Bombay, Dharavi, they have brought down the reproduction rate is now, the doubling rate is now 44 days. What is it?
44 days. I read that yesterday.
Yes, 44
Yeah,
days.
correct. So that's massive. So it's only doubling every 44 days. One, two. The rest of Bombay is 23 days. Then they're like, instead of having 80, 90 cases a day, they're having like either 10 or 11 or 14 or 12. So there is some pockets of success which are happening. I think in India, one of the biggest things that's going to happen and have to happen because of this is cleanliness. Because earlier we were always very, everybody is sharing toilets in slums, and everywhere we go, everything was filthy. So one of the biggest positives that's going to actually happen from this, the takeaway is going to be that we're going to have to be a lot cleaner as people. We're going to have to be a lot more careful, and so on. The other thing that's really quite wonderful that has happened is the air has become much cleaner here, because there's no traffic on the road. So this filthy smog everywhere has gone, and we are able to breathe. We're able to go for walks and not get choked by we might get choked by COVID, but we're not getting choked by the smog or the pollution. So those some wonderful things. I'm sorry to say, think about what's going to happen to us in terms of anything terribly positive right now, because we belong to a film industry, as you know, and we don't even know how we're going to begin to start shooting. I mean, at any given time, like 155 people on a set. How are we going to manage those numbers? How are we going to ensure safety for the workers, for ourselves, for everybody else? It's going to be a huge task. So it's not looking very positive, but I think we've all understood one thing, and that is that we have to learn to live with this virus.
Yes.
So the way forward for us definitely is to find ways to live with this in a way that we can function, as well as everybody can be safe. And it's going to involve a lot of self-discipline, which we unfortunately as a people do not have. So it's something that we're going to have to cultivate. So self-discipline in our country is something that we're going to have
Very
to look at
important.
as a very important way forward for us.
Yes.
Now to the second part of your question, you were talking about, we want to talk about little things.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
well,
I'll leave it
my
open
life
now.
is
Everybody
actually,
talk about it. I won't
no,
ask
so the
you.
thing is, my life has been full of little things. I think my life has only been full of little things. One of the first little things that we all started doing as a family was making sure that we have, we had garnered like a support system, because we need a lot of people who need funds to organize food trucks. So I've been looking at personally funding people who I know who are actually going out there. I can see them, pictures around, out there sending us pictures where those trucks are going. So I know that the food is reaching the people directly. So that's one thing that, we've been very, very actively supporting. There are a couple of people like that who are doing that work, which is amazing. The other thing we're doing in our building, for example, is, when we all locked down, so we all live in these, apartment blocks, and it's, we call building societies. And in each building society has its, set of XYZ amount of service staff and, a supervisor. And they all, obviously, now they couldn't travel back home and come back every day. A, it wasn't safe. B, there was no transport. So we made them stay here. And the whole building has got together all the, we've got a society group, and we've been feeding them. So breakfast, lunch, dinner, tea, snacks, everything has been
Lovely.
sort of, done by the society, the ladies in the society. So, we all take it in turns to do whatever we have to do. And that's a big organizational thing. And that's what we do. We've been doing since the beginning of the lockdown, and we're still doing it. And then apart from that, the little things that I've been doing at home, after I finished, tidying up the huge mess that was lying around, I went into the kitchen and have only been trying to make some, rustle up some great food. I started eating a lot of it, unfortunately. So now I've stopped going into the kitchen. That was what I was doing for a very long time, and actually having a lot of fun, because it was like, my husband has been home. Otherwise, he's never at home. He's always out, at the office and stuff. So because he's home also, so that there's every day we're having fun with the food. So lunch and dinner, became really fun events. And now, sadly, they are no longer fun events. I'm like, just had my doodhi bhaji. So anyway, but yeah. So I think one very important little thing, which is not such a little thing, is that I have made sure that we look after financially all the people who used to work for us, who are not able to come to work anymore. Yeah. Like all the driving staff, all the helps that come home, etc., etc., etc. And I think this is an extremely important thing to do. Unfortunately, a lot of people in this lockdown have said, "Oh, then people are not coming to work, so why should we pay them?" I'm like, how
That's
do you
not
expect them
fair.
to survive? Where are you going to get them? How are they going to live?
Yeah.
So all the more reason why in this lockdown you need to pay people. And I do hope that some people, change their minds about this, because it's been really, really very, very tragic the way a lot of people who actually have the means to pay just decided they're not going to pay people. So I think that's one of the things that is very, very important, and it's a little thing, but it's not actually that little.
No. Rekha, anything?
Yes, little things. These little things have become big things. I think for us, it's been reaching out. My husband Warren and I have really wanted to keep in touch with single friends who
Yes.
don't have a support system. They don't have grandchildren, and they don't have family necessarily. And so it came as kind of a shock when we spoke to a friend who said, "Oh my God, you're the first person I've literally spoken to in days."
Wow.
And so keeping in touch with some of our single friends. The other one has been just stopping. We travel a lot. We're on the move all the time. We have a very social life before the pandemic came, and we've all of that has stopped, and we've had to find our way in a world that is about getting to reconnect with each other, my husband and I, and our children, and just and enjoying the simpler things of life,
Yes.
going for walks in the woods, and stopping to see the bald eagle that now flies by our house. And as Soni was saying, with the lack of pollution, I mean, in our world, we've seen more wild animals recently near our cottage because there are no people around.
Yeah.
And so the wild animals are coming back out and taking over their territory. All these things are small, wonderful ways that are saying the world is maybe healing itself a little bit.
Yes.
And we need to continue to do that. So, and lastly, I just think we're so unbelievably fortunate to be where we are in the time of our lives, financially fortunate, that one has to sort of give thanks. And as I think it was Pooja saying, she's recently retired and is focused on doing the things that she enjoys doing in life. I see life in 3 phases. It's the learn phase, it's the earn phase, and now we're in the return phase.
Yes.
The phase when we need to return to society and give back to the world. And so that is the little things that I'm focused on, and hopefully that we will come out of this a better, more caring, more loving, more kind world.
Beautifully said. Zuhy, the little things.
The little things have been to take the time. That we have the time to be able to do the things that are important. I drove myself crazy with making lists of things to do in the house. The small printed lists on my phone or off the computer weren't cutting it. So I made this huge list of all the things I had to do and drove myself absolutely crazy. And one of the little things, which actually was a big thing for me, was let go. If I couldn't do it today, I could do it tomorrow, or it isn't actually going anywhere. And it was only when I started to feel better about what was happening outside that I found that if you took on a little thing every day when you felt like it made you feel a whole lot different. A little, not little, but big for us. Our one grandchild that lives in Lloydminster has been part of our bubble. We're sort of an extended family. At 10 months old, he provides all kinds of joy and delight to us. So we've been really fortunate in being able to soak that in. Our other 4 grandkids are a WhatsApp call away, and due to health reasons, they're really locked in tight. So we've been able to be connected with them. We live in a little neighborhood where our neighbors all look out for each other. So if one person's going to the store, the WhatsApp goes around if anybody needs something. And those have been the little things about hope and about sort of bolstering up my own ability to cope, yet seeing the world around us doing some amazing things to be able to, as Soni and Pooja and all of you have said, that people are becoming kinder and are becoming more gentle in some ways. So I don't have a whole list of little things. For me, it's been with family, my own kids spread out a little bit. It's been that anxiety of you want to nest, as I said, you want your kids around you, you want to be able to do those things. It's just learning how the little things do make a difference.
That's one of the reasons we could sell off all our furniture so quickly, is because people are setting up home offices. And they have to, because they're working from home with jobs, or they're working from home without jobs. They have to become independent, which, I think it's a great lesson for everyone to do that and become independent. So it's pretty amazing. That's another silver lining, I think.
Okay, that's lovely. So before we wrap up, quickly, I'll go around asking everybody what hope is in a few words. Pooja, what is hope for you?
Can I go last?
Okay. Rekha.
hope is, I guess, the fact that we will learn from this time. I am hopeful. I am really hopeful that we are going to come out a different humanity. And I'm hopeful because I've had hugs from my granddaughter, and I'm hopeful that that all that missing human contact is going to come back. I think the human contact has been very tough, and I'm hopeful that we're through that now.
Soni?
Hope is what makes us live. Go to sleep in the night and get up the next morning. Hope is really everything for us all. Hope is what is getting us through this pandemic, because we hope there's going to be a cure. We hope there's going to be a vaccine, and we hope the numbers are going to go down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, hope is everything right now in our lives for sure, and it always has been. But I feel that, okay, somebody else goes and then I'll join in.
I'll come back to you. Zuhy?
Yeah. Okay.
I guess my hope is being able to be strong and to take care of myself, number one, and then to be able to look around and see the strength that others have had to go through as much as they have had to go through, and they're still out there on the streets 20 days later, and they're learning to do things differently. And that for me is the hope that yes, we get up every morning, we're fortunate to get up every morning, and that we have the hope that we're just going to learn to do everything differently. And hopefully we'll be able to meet each other. I mean, for me, this connection...
And hug each other.
This connection between us, I mean, it can't just be on Zoom forever, right? We need that hope of being able to come together and keep the relationships and the connections that we've made all over these years.
Yeah.
So, I hope that all the things we've learned from this time, there are some silver linings in this. This whole episode of racism probably coming towards, a better resolution, or a disease coming and being conquered. There are so many things we're learning from it. And I hope that people learn from it and it becomes a way of life, that things don't go back to, hey, the same old, same old. I'm finding that a lot of our friends are discovering how many national parks there are in Illinois, just an hour away in different directions, where they have bison, etc. And they go for walks there. And this is all instead of other things they might be doing, which is, the urban life, eating, shopping, etc. And this is an alternative that we're learning to appreciate again. On a smaller note, man, do my husband and I appreciate our cleaning service now. We're going to give her a raise. It's like, oh my God. So my husband went bicycling the other day, and he loves long bicycle rides, like 25, 30 miles. And he said in the forest that he's been through many times, he saw a young buck who didn't run away scared, lots of different birds.
Yes.
And in fact, in our own garden, we had half a robin's egg shell lying on the ground the other day. So they're little baby chickadees, which are the hope of tomorrow also, nesting in our trees. So, I just hope we keep all this going. A lot of people are buying bicycles instead of relying on cars and all those fuel-burning vehicles. So keep that up, I think. I hope they do.
Yeah. So hope is a lot about little things.
Even in...
Soni, tell me.
Even in sorry, no, I'm just interrupted. Even in a city like Bombay, people are buying cycles, and I see all these young. I mean, they're not kids, or maybe even older than kids, like their 20s, bicycling in Bombay. I've never seen it in my life before. Only the doodh wala had the cycle, and the pav wala and the anda wala had the cycle, but we never had cycles. And I was just thinking, I'm going to borrow the boy in the building who lives there with us. I gave him a cycle. I'm going to borrow that cycle that I gave him, and I want to drive around too. So I just wanted to add to what I said earlier about hope, is that I think there's one thing that I think we all probably feel, is that we'll never take anything for granted again. Like, I couldn't get on to the beach that, I live next to the beach, and I couldn't get on there till a week ago. It was absolutely shut. Even now it shuts at 7 in the evening, so they have timings for it. I will never take anything for granted again. There's so many things. So I hope that, I hope that we all are able to remember this, as somebody said earlier, for the rest of our lives, because we have taken everything and families for granted, our friends for granted, our children for granted, our the nature around us for granted, and everything that we really don't sort of look at on a daily basis, unless you're really living with it, especially when you live in a city. So I feel that this is a real huge learning lesson for all of us.
Just another small thing, we have lots of different friends, and their parents, some of them live around Chicago in the suburbs, and this Mother's Day, I called my dearest friend's mother to wish her Happy Mother's Day, and she was so enthralled and excited. And the moment my friend walked in there for Mother's Day to her place, her mother was saying, "Oh my God, Pooja and Peter called me." And I was just thinking, this is such a simple thing to do. Yeah. It's not that she's unwell or anything, but just to even think of somebody before you have a need to call them for anything was just so heartwarming. And I've learned a lot from that. So I've been making many calls to Hong Kong and Kuala Lumpur and India, because it means so much just to be in connection at a time when you have no connection.
I agree. So I'll be waiting for a call from you for sure.
WhatsApp call.
Yeah, please call me on WhatsApp. I'll be so thrilled.
Absolutely. That's a deal.
That's a deal. Yeah, anyone else with lovely words of love and wisdom?
I will say this has brought me closer to all of you. Also, it feels like just in the last few months, everyone's become more active in sharing their thoughts. And so you learn a lot more about people and what they're thinking about, people you thought you knew before. I have another WhatsApp group of all my college friends, Indian college friends. And every morning, one of them sends us a picture every day of something from her garden, whether it's a caterpillar or a flower or something blooming or mushroom. And then all our cousins have gotten together on a WhatsApp group. Everyone has the time now to be active, which is so precious.
Yes.
So I will call you Nandini.
Yes. Zuhy, anything?
No, I've learned a lot from all of you, actually, just listening to you, because it's that hope that we can share with each other that will carry me forward anyway. So
same.
To see you all. I mean, like you said, we've known each other since we were 4 and 5, and what would we be without having had each other?
I wait for that some message or the other to come on our group, and then we all jump in, and the boys don't.
I wake up.
Or they do.
To fire up.
I wake up every morning.
What is this rubbish you're talking about?
Enough said.
Rubbish.
I wake up every morning and the first thing I do is check my WhatsApp, because I have 32 messages back and forth from this group. It's so amazing watching that conversation.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for lovely
Nandini.
conversation.
Thanks for organizing this.
Thank you.
Yes.
Nandini,
Be safe, everybody.
Fun. Thanks for
Great
pushing.
fun chatting with all you guys.
Yeah, thanks for pushing us.
Take care.
Yes. Take care. Bye.
Come on. Be safe.